Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This video was supposed to be on the big boy over here, the truck. There's a job I really want to get out of the way on the coupe, the top of the radiator support panel. I really want to get into that. And to do that, I want to pull the suspension out of the coupe, the front suspension. So I need it sitting on the hoist, and I need the hoist to get the F100 off the big truck to do all the work I want to do on that. So for now, I'm going to concentrate on the coupe, get this job done, and I can get it back together and get it out of the way, have a bit of a clean up, and then I can start everything I really want to get done on that truck over there. So bear with me, a bit more coupe work and then the truck. But I know a lot of you guys love the coupe and you're only here for the coupe, so let's get into that. So the part I want to take care of today, this top edge here, and look, it comes up on the video, but it's got a low spot in the middle. I had a bunch of spot welds across the top, which I filled and cleaned up, but the middle's got quite thin. It's been a pain in the ass. I'm not a fan of this sharp edge. I have rounded it off, but taken a bit of it. But yeah, I don't really like it too much. But you can sort of see the shape of it along there. You can also see how it angles up a lot. And this side actually angles up more than the other end. It kind of follows the... This face is on an angle as well, so that sort of matches. But this side's higher than that side. I think you can see it there. And that's always annoyed me. And it doesn't need to come up that much. I want to level it out to match the car more. And put a curve on the back. So I'm going to cut that part out, at least. And I'm going to try and do it out of one piece, but I'm going to... I brought myself a pan brake from here in Forbes Machinery in Adelaide. I also picked up that drill press yesterday. I've finally got myself a pedestal drill. I haven't bolted it down, but I've finally got a decent drill, so I'm stoked about that. And I'm also stoked how the stripes go above the pan brake. But anyway, back to this. So this is a mess. The middle's thin, it's all misshapen. I don't like it. This is going to come up nice. These are sweet. This is going to be the first thing you see when you open the bonnet, apart from the blowing Godzilla and the lacquer towers. But this here, this is like front and center, and I'm not happy with it. So I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to try and make a one piece folded. So I've got a fold at the front, fold at the back. I was thinking about cutting it down here and having a bit coming out here as well to fill this. Not too sure on that one yet. I'll see how that goes, but for now I'm going to cut this out. It's got my straight edge there. I'm going to do some drawing on it, get the grinder out, and get stuck into that. So it's the next day. I've spent the evening contemplating my decisions, but I've cut the top of it out. I'll spin around and have a look in a minute. I've cut the top of it out, had a bit of a look at it, and I think I'm going to cut some more out and do the whole back side of it, but I'll turn this around and explain. So I was going to go with just doing this 20mm strip along the top here, having a nice bend here and straight across, but I'm still not happy with this. I want to have a lip coming across here to line up with this to close in the top of the radiator. And I don't want to weld something along here and do a weld all the way along here. And it's going to be a bit of a mission to do a nice weld all the way along, clean it up and make it look nice when I can just fold it all in one piece. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. I kind of keep giving myself more work on this thing, but like I said, that's one thing that stands out as soon as you open the bonnet, and I'll never be happy with it. And I don't want to have to do it again later when the car's together and painted. So take your time and do it right the first time, I guess. But yeah, I'll do that. So a couple of things with that. It's not a super crisp fold. The top side one there, the one with the longer edge, that's not too bad. I'm okay with that. The bottom one, as you saw with me folding it, because the this plate here, it's about 60mm across where I needed 50mm there. I took that plate off and tried folding it, and it really needs that extra bit of size there. That thin edge wasn't enough to fold the 1.2mm. So I had to bolt that back on, which then caught on the top edge here, and so then I had to go through and straighten that 50mm section there, the top section. But that's actually come out all right. So it's not terrible. It's not the best, but it's not terrible. But it's going to be a lot cleaner than what was on the car. So now I'm going to cut this piece mostly to size, and then I'll set it over that and draw around it and get the car around this piece to match up, and be a bit of work, but we'll see how we go. So I thought I was going okay putting a new section in on the radiator support panel here. Ran into the same problem as last time I did this. There's just one bit here on the front edge that was paper thin, and I just kept blowing holes through it and I couldn't sort it. So I cut a section out of the donor panel, and I've had to do that. It was really thin, and every time I tried doing anything with it, by the time I sanded it down, it was putting waves in the front of the panel. The rest of it's going all right so far. It's just this bit was kicking my ass. So that's delayed me a little bit, but I'll excuse those tacks. But I'll weld that and clean that up, and then I can do the backside. And hopefully I'll get this thing buttoned up. But it's taking far too long. But I'm really happy with how it's coming up so far. It's made a big difference, and I'm glad I've done it. So I just keep telling myself it's going to be worth it in the end. After a long couple of days, I've finally got the top of the radiator support panel finished. I've got as close as I can with the tools and skills that I've got. Metal finishing, that's all pretty much done. I'm quite happy with that. It's the same as the front of the radiator support panel. That'll need someone with a bit more talent than me to go over that and get that finished. There was a 3.5-inch hole here in the A pillar on this side for the intercooler piping. I've finally patched that up. I had to make that panel by hand. I didn't record it, but because of how close, it's like corrugated. Anyone that knows the pillars in those, I don't want to have a close look at that. Anyone that knows the A pillars and these things, what it's like, I couldn't do it in the folder because of the in the pan brake, because of how close the ridges were together. So I had to do it all in my vise with hand tools, and that was painful. And I've tidied up a few other bits and pieces, but that's pretty much all the welding on the front end that I need to do. There's a few bits here and there, a bit more tidying up. I'm going to wait until I've put everything in the car, dummied everything up, and chances are I'm going to have to change some stuff and cut some stuff. So when everything comes back up before paint, I'm going to go over the whole front end again. But for now, I'm pretty happy with it. So this afternoon, I'm going to put some etch primer over the whole thing just to protect it. I want to see it all black. I'm sick of like this copper color around the place. And then I'm going to drop the engine in, put the suspension in, and get this thing on its wheels, put the guards on it. I want the car pretty much together, all the big parts in it, because I want to move it out of the way, put it in the corner or one of the other bays so I can get this truck started, which won't be this video, but I want to end this video by having the car pretty much together and sitting on its wheels. So yeah, and then I can get on to measuring for some stuff that I want to order, but more on that later. But for now, some primer, engine, suspension on its wheels outside today. I'm not sure this is going to work, but I'm going to have a go at putting the engine in the car with the headers on. It's a lot easier to put them on the engine out of the stand, obviously, but I don't know, due to their length, whether I can tilt this enough to get it in and around the gearbox and the engine mounts. So I'll see how that goes. So it looks like the headers are just a touch too long to put the engine in with the headers attached. That went in okay, but the collectors basically drag the whole way down the firewall. So if there's paint on there, it's going to just tear up the paint. That's okay, they're made to fit into the car when the engine's in place. So it's not a huge deal. I just wanted to see if I could actually do it. So yeah, if the balancer wasn't on there, I could probably get away with it, but and the shape of the firewall, one side of the firewall where the steering column comes through, that's slightly further forward on these cars, so the collector on that side hit first. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but once they're in there, they're staying in there. That's it, done. So it's not a huge thing, but it's kind of in place now. It's got the dowels on the gearbox, so now I've just got to, it appears my jack's got a bit of a leak as well. Now I'm just going to put a couple of gearbox bolts in there, and get the engine sitting down on the engine mounts, get those bolted up. Pull the all this stuff off and chuck a couple of things onto the engine, including the supercharger when it's all in place. So I'll just drop it down on the hoist right down so I can actually lift that thing in there because it's a monster. And then I'll get on with the suspension, which is quick and easy. That's a good job. But yeah, it's in. I keep mentioning putting the car together so I can dummy up parts, measure for parts, drill holes, cut holes. So one of the things, just as an example, one of the things I've got to do is, because of the oil pan I'm running on this, I have to run an external oil filter. I can't screw it onto the engine, so I have to run a remote oil filter mount. This is just an Earl's one, suits like a Z9 filter. Same size as a 351 Clevo. It's got 2 ins, 2 outs, so I can run hoses wherever I want, and a sensor port for oil pressure. I have to find somewhere to mount this. So now that I've got the engine in the car, the header's in there, I can run lines. I can start making the lines for the oil pan to the filter. I've also got to run an oil filter, which I do have from the old setup. I've got to clean that out, flush that, and work out where I'm going to put that as well. But this will probably go on the inside of the chassis rail somewhere up the front, out of the way. So the oil filter's in from the wheel. It used to sit with the twin turbo setup, it sat under here. So I want to get that further away from the wheel, up the front, out of the way, high enough so you can't see it under the spoiler, and just somewhere really simple. So when I do an oil change, I can just reach under and do it there, not put oil everywhere. That's probably where I'll end up. But that's an example of why I've put the whole car back together, kind of. Now I can do the fuel lines. I've got the fuel rails on there, the supercharger. I can work out the lines from the cooler to the supercharger, find a pump for it, put a pump in it. wiring, I can do all sorts now. And with all this stuff in the car, I've got a bit more room in the shed because this one's going to go in the corner just for a little while. And the truck, I keep mentioning the truck. This week, I'm getting stuck into the truck and I'm doing a couple of really big jobs on that. So the F100's got to come off the back of that. And I'd like to get a photo briefly of this car, or video of the car on the back of the truck for measuring reasons. But yeah, so that's why I've done this. That's why it's back together. It's given me a lot of motivation as well, not gonna lie there. It's seeing it together is sort of got me a bit pumped to get this thing going. So yeah, cool. I'll drop it back down and clean around it. And I reckon that'll probably be it. I think so. So in the previous video where I was patching up the radiator support panel, I was talking about the corners of this part of the panel here, how the factory one had a step in it and this one, these parts didn't. And it really should have occurred to me at the time. I sort of had an inkling, but I thought it would clear and it wouldn't be for that. But this, I'm pretty sure this radiator support panel, or the parts that I used, the replacement one is an XA. And I really should have clicked onto this one straight away because the amount of the times I've pulled the front of this car apart and messed around with it. But I'll show you why. Again, I don't know why I didn't pick up on this one, but it'll make sense straight away. So this is the original panel that goes under the bumper on the coupe. I won't fit it on there now, I'll just sit it here. But that's the part I was talking about in the original panel. And you can see this is where this panel here bolts on under there. So part of putting the front of the car together, mocking everything up now, was to figure out done with things like this before I paint everything, as if I did a real nice job of cleaning up those panels and painting them and everything and then had to trim that. Big backwards step, just a pain in the ass. So what I'll do is next time those guards come off, I'll just notch that to suit. It's not a structural area, it's not a high strength area. I might try and put a lip on there like the factory. The bits that I cut off, only one side had that part on because the other side was wood shielded for intercooler piping. So I might just trim the minimum off there, off that corner to fit. And I think that'll be okay, but I'll see next time the front end comes apart, I'll work that out as I go. Speaking of bits that were butchered to fit things in the car, you can sort of see there's a little bit cut out on the back of that. That was to clear an intercooler pipe. Again, I had 3-inch pipes coming along behind the bumper and up behind the guards and everything for the 2 turbos that were on this car that used to be there, for those that don't know the car that far back. But if you have a look at the other side, pretty much the whole back of that indicator panel there is cut out. I did think about trying to find another one of those panels, a good panel. You can get, I believe you can get fiberglass reproduction ones off eBay, but that panel is actually in really good condition apart from those bits that are cut. And where they're cut is behind the lights, so you don't see it when everything's together. So I think what I'm going to do is later on, when it comes to that time, I'll patch that up, I'll fold up some metal and weld that in and paint it. But that wasn't the only part that was modified for pipework. There's more. So I've got a few bits on the floor down there. I used to run a chrome bar on the car, and then I went to a fiberglass bar. And when I went to the fiberglass bar, that was when I went to the twin turbos. You can sort of, I'll have a close look in a minute, but these brackets here, you can see that big bit that's cut out, and the lack of bar that goes up to the corner. So this other one here has got these bars here. That was all cut out for pipe work. Not for making it light or anything like that. It was just completely for pipe work. It was a bit silly. I always meant to brace it, but I never got around to it. In some of the Street Machine drag challenge videos, I think it was 2018, 2019, you can see on the start line when I'm on the trans brake, the front of the car's sort of sitting there on basically the two-step, and you can see the bump there. They've zoomed in on it and they're mocking the front of the car, shaking and rattling and that. It's just a bit of a laugh. But I needed to get replacement brackets. Not the easiest thing to find, but we'll have a look at what I've got here. Bracket, heavily cut. Front indicators there too, also modified. So this modification I don't recommend at all in the slightest. It was to get me out of a tight spot for drag challenge. I was going to try and work on something a bit more permanent, but this was to get me through. So these are the new housings that I've picked up. I'll get repro lenses for them, they'll look good. The housings are really nice. The alloy bit's the bit I needed. Again, quite hard to find good ones. These are really nice. They don't really look it, but yeah, they are. So yeah, I'll get new lenses, but that's what a factory one looks like. And this is what was in the car. Yeah. So there's an indicator bulb taped in there that was working. And I did have a park light bulb that was in there as well, but you can see how much I cut that away. Again, this was to get me out of a bind for drag challenge. Actually, I'll probably reuse this lens. This is a nice lens. It worked. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, these new ones I've got, they've still got the original wiring on them. I believe that's because that's a factory plug. I believe these are all factory original, real nice ones. So they weren't the cheapest, but they were local, they're handy. Mark was good to deal with. The front bumper, also from Mark. The bumper itself is probably, it's not as good as my original chrome bumper, but it's got all the bracketry behind. So now I've got those parts, I can get those cleaned up and ready to go on the car, but I'll go over that another time when I'm actually getting into it. So that's all I'm going to do on the coupe for this video. I'm going to do some shuffling around. I've done a little bit of work on the truck, which I've been recording. I want to do some shuffling around in here so I can do some decent work on the truck. And I really want to get a picture of the coupe on the back of the truck before I do the next major thing to the truck. So that's what I'm going to do this afternoon. And yeah, next one's going to be the truck, definitely the truck. Thanks for checking out the videos, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out the channel. Thanks to the new subscribers. If you haven't subscribed already, feel free. And hopefully I'll see you again real soon with truck stuff. Cheers.